Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 553. We are live tonight. It is Tuesday, November 7th. I'm Lucas. I am joined tonight by, I guess, Phil. I don't know. Apparently he's around somewhere.
Hello.
He always has to do something silly.
And Peter.
Fervidestron.
And Anna.
Good evening.
Being silly.
So welcome everyone. I do want to mention, I don't know if people have seen on our page just up front that one of the members of our community passed away over the weekend. If you haven't seen, Bryce Rutledge, who was a former cast member, photographer, in the community, had a lot of different, interests. I know he's, big into music and all that. But he passed away, unfortunately, over the weekend. So, we just want to send our condolences to, his family and everything. And mention it, that, we've been thinking about him and everything. So.
Yeah, a couple of other folks are working on a tribute and just want to make it as nice as possible for the gentleman.
So,
unlike a regular show, they're not going to cut corners.
So, but yeah, no, I know we've been talking with Dron and all that as well, because he was on with him and everything. So, but yeah, so for everyone that knew Bryce, he's a really great guy. I got to know him going to TFcons and such. Just discussing things online with him as well. So, but yeah, so we are doing. Dron's putting together a slideshow clip that he was going to try and put up by this weekend. So if anyone has any, photos they want included, to send it to our social media page, or if you want, you can message Dron directly for that. So, but yeah. But with that, I know tonight's topic, I think we're talking about hunting some Transformers. Is that the...
Not just normal hunting, like Lucas. It's not just normal hunting. We're bargain hunting.
Bargain hunting.
Bargain hunting. It's the best time of the year for that.
Yeah, it's discount time.
Maybe? I don't know. Peter?
I like buying robots.
Yeah. Well, it's been such a weird distribution, I feel like, over the last several years, right? Like a couple years ago, everything was crazy and you couldn't find anything. And so, things were selling out and, distribution and whatnot. And now we've kind of went back and swung back where, we are able to find a fair amount of stuff, for a discount, either at Ollie's or Ross or whatever. So we figured that'd be a decent topic to.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, the intro should be when you go live. We should say something like, we've noticed that there's a massive glut of crazy things at Ross and Ollie's and the other Market 6 stores suddenly, starting like 2 weeks ago, across the spectrum of the different brands or lines or series for Transformers, and people are going rabid because things that were hard to find 2 years ago or a year and a half ago or whatever are now seemingly plentiful and super affordable. So those who enjoy scalping, are now being undercut by Ross, which is and Ollie's, which is just a delight to see. And for those who paid too much, sorry about it. So we should touch on the variety of things available, the places that we find them, and the savings that can be had in this magical time of plenty. And I'm ready to go live whenever you are.
That sounds like a good
Peter,
plan. I'll deliver that to our past selves.
We are live.
Thought we were just warming up.
No, you should probably put on pants.
Oh.
Yeah. 5 minutes ago or so.
Another HR complaint for you there, Peter.
I get plenty. Forever Destron, everybody. Good morning.
So Peter, you found a bunch of these. What have you found, and where are you finding them?
Hi, good evening. Welcome to TFYLP episode 5something. It's not on the screen, but we know what it is. I'm Peter, and just before TFcon, which was a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I don't know. Time moves. It moves relative to my speed, and I move really slowly sometimes. Things started showing up at Ross and Ollie's. Things are always showing up at Ollie's and Ross, but they started like showing up in mass. And Ollie's got a big pile of things. Personally,
So
in the last 3 weeks, I've got 4 Ollie's in my area. Each of them's about an hour. I've got 5 actually. Each one's about an hour away from my house. It's in different directions. It's like a big star.
Uh-oh.
The Walmart Retro Headmasters, all the Beast Wars vintage stuff, including the basics, deluxes, and ultras, and Scorponok. I have found a whole bunch of Masters of the Universe stuff, a whole bunch of G.I. Joe classified stuff for $5 a pop, including exclusives. I found all of the Walgreens Simple series. I forget what they're called. Evergreen, Authentics, Evergreen, Shockwave, and Jetfire, and Bumblebees and Sideswipe, and whoever else. What else? That. And the Velocitron stuff. Specifically the Velocitron. Override. Yes, thank you. And that might be it. Probably not it. I just can't think right now.
I did enjoy the picture. I did enjoy the picture you sent. You mentioned Masters of the Universe, but it was like a wall of Panthers.
Mm-hmm. There was a wall of Panthers at each of my Ollies, and at one Ollie's, they were $19. Or at all of the Ollies except for one, they were $19, and at one Ollie's, they were $5. So, I have when I used to buy cases of stuff, when Big Bad or TF Source or whoever would sell by the case, I would buy cases and trade and sell and do whatever that way I could keep my cases and sort everything properly, and then at the end, trade or sell or any doubles that I had left over that I didn't plan on opening, I would put in the Toys for Tots bin, and away they would go. But since Big Bad and everyone stopped selling cases, and I don't like going through Entertainment Earth because I just don't. I've really taken advantage of the Market 6 stores, your TJ Maxx's and Ross's and Ollie's and Marshall's and whatever else, Five Below, to stock up on things that I can give away at the end of the year, because kids deserve kick-ass toys, and I always had kick-ass Christmases because my parents pulled out all the stops, but we were broke. So other kids need kick-ass toys. And if that means I'm a kid, then that's what happens.
Sorry, Peter, you're kind of cutting out a little bit there. I'm not sure what's going on.
Cool. Monologues ruined. Oh well.
Most of the monologue made it through.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just heads up. So, well, I know Ron also mentioned we're going to say that it sounds like that Walmart is going to be selling a bunch of 2-packs of deluxes for $25. And so originally when we saw the leaks, we're like, oh, this is exciting. You know, is this something new? And it's not something new. It's repacks. But the thing that is exciting is that it's 2 for $25. So like if you have some figures, deluxes. So if you have some deluxes that you missed out on over the last couple of years, you can get those packs. And so say if you're like, oh, I really want a kickback, but then I can't remember whatever's with the kickback. Like you already have that, then drop that off in the Toys for Tots bin, you know, and there you go.
The pairings border on ridiculous. Like they don't really make a lot of sense. But, you know, if you wanted to do the thing where there's something that isn't in stores anymore, like for instance, for a while there, I was trying really hard to find the Bumblebee Ratchet and it wasn't on shelves anymore. And I eventually got one from Phil. Thank you. But it's in there, right? It's in one of those 2-packs. If you needed that one, but you don't need whatever he's packed with, you could always donate the other one if you wanted to go the Peter route. And still just be paying normal price for something that hasn't been in stock for months. Or you could try to scalp it like a monster, whatever.
Or trade with a friend.
Or trade with a friend. That's healthy too.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could take the second one and tell yourself you're going to customize it and hold on to it for like 7 years. Maybe take it apart.
Oh, Ron says he thinks that the Legacy 2-packs are actually wave mates. I'd have to go back and look to see.
They might be. Some of them seem like madness to me, but I don't pay any attention to release. I was expecting them to be thematic. I thought it was going to be like, you know, 2 versions of RC together or like somebody and their BFF, but instead it's just either wave mates or randomness.
It makes sense if they're the wave mates.
It would.
When Energon did their 2-packs in 2004, it was just 2 regular 2-packs, whether it was MaxCon or with a new UPC over the old UPC to show that it was a 2-pack. Then there was no rhyme or reason with how they were packed.
Yeah, because you're getting Studio Series with Studio Series, Legacy with Legacy. So yeah, just from looking at these, it certainly supports that point that Zaldron's making. And I will say one of the cool things is, you know, there are some figures that are coming out that have been hard to find. You know, so if you missed out on some of the Stunticon limbs, this is another opportunity to get the Stunticon limbs. If you missed out on, you know, some of the Insecticons, this is another place to grab some of the Insecticons. So, yeah, it is, you know, definitely, you know, you're getting some, you know, pretty great toys from this, again, for a great price. Is it going to be inconvenient that you don't get exactly the 2 that you want? It probably is going to happen for a lot of folks, but this is a net positive, I'd say, for just about everyone.
The 86 Sharkticons in there. I know some people some people talked about those being hard to get back when like they couldn't get as many as they wanted. So it's another opportunity to get those. And you get some sort of bonus friend with it.
Well, one thing I think too with some of the less expensive Transformers, like, I mean, this is the perfect time really to, you know, have all those out on the shelves between, you know, Ross and Ollie's and Walmart, because, I mean, you know, like these are supposed to be for kids, and like, I don't know, I realize I know inflation, all that, but like $25 for a deluxe for a kid, you know, I think it's different for a collector. But like, if I'm just trying to go buy, some toys for my kid for Christmas, like it's a tough value proposition. I think especially when you're competing with like just whatever Pokemon cards or video games or whatever else, you're trying to maximize what your kids get for Christmas, or if you're donating them, or whatever. And so it's nice to see some of these different options, especially right for the holidays.
Especially if you're buying for friends' kids or families' kids, folks that you might end up be buying for like 10 different children in your family at an event. And it's like you could be buying them $5 cheap toys, or you could go to the bargain bin at Always and everyone gets a good toy and you still don't spend as much. So it's definitely a good time for that. I agree. Or to selfishly go and get figures that you missed. That's also a thing. You can do that as well. I've been doing a little bit of that one.
Yeah, and I've been surprised. I've seen some of your photos that it's kind of tempted to me to get out, but I haven't had a chance to yet. Sounds like you've been hitting up our local Ollies as well.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed going there. Like, I wasn't going to the Ollies because ours wasn't getting anything noteworthy. But now that it is, it's kind of fun to go and root around because it's disorganized and messy, and you kind of feel like you're treasure hunting. You go in Target, you go to the Transformers shelf, you check the back to see if there's anything on clearance, and then you go home. But you go to Ollie's and it's madness. And sometimes you think maybe I should go check the chip aisle to see if the toys are there, because it's just a complete mess. And that's just kind of fun for me. I have found good things. The override was there this week when I went. So I decided, you know what? I'm trying to collect all the woman figures. So I'll just go ahead and grab her, even though I have another override in my collection, whatever, for $10 as opposed to what would it be, 35 these days? I was like, whatever, I'll just get one. They had the headmasters. So that's pretty cool to be able to get those Walmart headmasters for $10 is also nice. So they had the headmasters, they had the authentics or whatever they're called. They had one random blue silver streak or silver blue streak or whatever he is. They had the little squishable Transformers. Those always crack me up whenever I see them on the shelves, because that's what you expect to be at Ollie's and not the like good stuff. They did have a pile of mislabeled Optimus Primal and Megatrons like a month ago, or maybe 2 months ago, where they were $10. And yeah, I bet those probably, once people realized how big and how fully featured those toys are, because like I know it's an old toy, but like as far as kid toys go, that Optimus Primal is a really fun kid toy, the original toy. And it's not so old that like it's like, oh, a fossil would think this was fun, but a real child wouldn't. No, it's still a fun thing since the advent of ball joints and flexibility. They had those. Gosh, what else did they have? There was something else I found this week that was exciting. Oh yeah, freaking red Bumblebee. They're just entire cases of just red Bumblebee. There's no other red figures. It's just Bumblebee.
I'm thinking the color versus the toy line.
I know, that was the first thing. Like I was shopping there and I was talking to Catherine. I showed her a picture and she was like, "Oh, I'm surprised to see that red Bumblebee there." And I was like, "What do you mean a red Bumblebee?" And I'm staring right at it, trying to figure out. I thought she was called Sideswipe Bumblebee for a second because there were some Sideswipe figures. And yeah, Peter held up the red Bumblebee, robot enhanced design Bumblebee. And that's cool to see that figure, like, again, because it hasn't been on Walmart shelves in a while. Ooh, Beast Wars Monopoly. Yeah, we had that too. We had Beastopoly.
How much
at
is
my
Beastopoly?
store? It's like 15.
Yeah.
If you don't have 5 sets of Monopoly in your office for some reason, it's a good time to get 5 sets of Monopoly for your office. Yeah, headmasters are there. They had all the headmasters. What else did they have? They have a lot of. It is these freaking exclusives. Whoops, almost all Walmart exclusives.
How much were the
we had
headmasters?
The
$10.
headmasters are 10.
Yeah, we had I don't know if you can see, we had a single blue streak too, and then some rando movie cars,
That's fun.
and then I
So
went
I've
over to
checked out
Ross.
some of the other stores as well, and we'll get to Ross in just a second. But like TJ Maxx and Marshalls don't have anything, and I've not heard any reports of anything. Burlington Coat Factory, the one that's convenient for me, had at one point 20 of the buzzworthy silver streaks or blue streaks, and they've slowly been whittled down. Couple of them are still on the shelves. Some of them don't have heads anymore. But yeah, like that was sort of an odd thing to see at Burlington as the only kind of mainline for what we collect Transformers. It was just a whole like shelf, and it was just like boom, 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 boom of buzzworthy blue streak.
My LA's had a bunch of those for a while. They're down
Yeah.
to 1 as of last Saturday, so probably 0 now.
Yeah.
Well, I always feel like it's weird, like, at least by us, the distribution for TJ Maxx and Ross both are, like, not very good at all. Like, there's just very limited toys at all when you go in there. So I've kind of just haven't even bothered, like, looking there lately.
Last time I went, ours had quite a bit. Like, it actually had it had selections of things that you and I have already bought.
Right.
All the ones that we wanted, but they had a decent selection.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big things at Ollie's we didn't mention is that something that I think is mostly sold out in most places. Ours had a fresh case of when I went last Saturday, but it was Throne Starscreams, Coronation Starscreams, the 86. Those priced like $1. That is at Ollie's for much cheaper if you can find it.
Yeah, we had every one of the Ollies that I went to had that the first round, and then when I went back for a second round, they were all gone. But I know
Really?
at one of the Ross, the King was walking in. He was trying to go in the exit door, which won't open. So he was standing there like an idiot, waiting for me to come out so that the door would open, because walking 10 feet to the right, or my right, his left, was way too tall a challenge. So the door opened, I walked out, and he's like, "Oh, geez, it's you." I was like, "Hey." He's like, "Did you leave anything for me?" "No." And I kept going. And yeah, so I know Scalper is. So
Yeah, we missed about the last minute or so of what you said, Peter. I'm sorry.
So, something
That
about
was-
scalpers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you ran into the local scalper, and
yeah,
he-
I guess I'll just hang up. So you guys have fun
yeah.
without me.
Okay, not necessary.
Bye,
You can
everyone.
stay around. Okay.
You can come back. Try to
Yeah.
read.
He did leave. Bummer. Well, he was talking about his local scalper. Keen was trying to come in and get stuff, and he was glad to accidentally counterattack.
But I think he was making the point that scalpers are gobbling up the stuff.
They
At the
are,
same prices.
unfortunately, and that's kind of a bummer, right? Because that, like the Throne set, is a good example. That thing didn't sell. It wasn't actually overpriced for what you got, but it seemed expensive, so it didn't sell super well. It's showing up at these stores. In a year or two, being able to sell that Starscream with his throne and his little cape and his hat is going to be something valuable for scalpers to resell. They're going to be able to sell that thing for probably more than it retailed for. That's kind of a bummer. I waited on it, and after I paid it, I was like, oh, if I had paid the full $50 for this, I would not be upset. This is really good. It's a really nice set.
No, yeah, the set is really nice, and I think if you hadn't gotten the Starscream originally, that it'd be really cool. But you could probably say that of a lot of the different like repacks that have been, like, you know, some of the Megatrons and whatnot too.
I found out just how much him being in the right cartoon colors mattered to me. Because, like, the colors are never exactly right on a Starscream toy, and that one has the colors exactly right. And it was just like, wow, this is so much cooler than my 57 other Starscreams for some reason. But yeah, I've been having fun doing this just because I think Peter has too, if he was still here to talk about it. Just because it is a hunt and you don't know what you're going to find. And sometimes you surprise yourself. And a lot of times you find it, you go, I have this, and you walk away. But like at Ross, Scourge was showing up, the laser prime repaint Scourge. And, being able to, if you missed it for retail, being able to get it for $15 is pretty cool. But also just seeing a pile of them cheap that people can buy up for their kids, which is a halfway decent toy. Okay, I kind of hate the toy, but most people like it.
What's wrong with the toy?
The arms are itty bitty. He has little tiny arms that don't fit his body. It looks weird.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
love it. I feel like if it had it's just like with Star Saber, right? If there was an arm upgrade kit, I would love the figure. But there isn't an arm upgrade kit, so that's a hard thing to make. Another cool value proposition that recently happened was, how there's some troop builder pack, right? Everybody's excited to get their troop builders. And if my little alligator friend looks wrong to you, that's because I reversed his arms because I wanted him to be a street shark instead of a proper transformer, because I think he looks better like this. But the point is, if you play your games correctly with your Target coupons, you can get this 4-pack for about half price if you aim your Target coupons right. So it's definitely bargain shopping time as we go into Black Friday season.
Well, and I feel like this year it's like almost kind of the opposite of last year, where I feel like we had a ton of new stuff that hit like around this time or maybe around December. And, it was like almost hard to keep up with everything. Whereas like, it's almost kind of nice this time where you're like, oh, hey, like I missed this, I missed that, whatever. And you're able to kind of try to go and hunt and scoop some stuff up that you, maybe weren't able to get before.
Yeah, and to your point, Anna, just a few minutes ago, finding Velocitron Scourge at Ross has gotten just about every Velocitron figure except for Override. They've gotten all the other figures, including the legendary Cosmos, Crasher, and Shadow Strip. So, something funky happened with the distribution, whether that was on Walmart's side or Hasbro side. I don't know. I'm sure there are people who do know, but I don't. We can have fun speculating and blaming people and hope they lose their jobs over that. But yeah, I mean, that whole wave has shown up at Ross. And again, Walmart exclusives earlier in the year and are still sitting at Walmart are the Halloween horror Beast Wars repaints. So Buzzsaw, I forget the Cheetor's name. Was it Shadow Panther?
Yeah. Those things sat though originally.
Yeah, they did sit for a while, and even at Ross, they're still shelf warmers. But yeah, something funky with Walmart happened because those are all again Walmart exclusives.
Well, and I wonder too if like some of that stuff just didn't sell as well as what they're hoping, and then Walmart's like, oh no, we don't need the next wave, or like that normally maybe in the past they had done a restock, and they just decided, oh no, we're not going to bother with it. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm gonna warn you guys, including Lucas, though, if you go and you find those headmasters, they're very tempting. Just seeing them in their nice retro packaging, and it's been long enough that you might kind of forget how dated Titans Returns feels now. So you might see it and get overly excited and end up buying them by accident.
Well, I almost kind of feel like I get those because I still have the original ones, just to have some fun ones in a box, because I just love those G1 display boxes they have.
It's so nice, and the paint jobs on these do seem to be really good.
Yeah,
I never touched them. I never had them. They seem pretty cool.
You never had the
I had the
actual
Titans Returns
Headmasters
one. I didn't have the I got them back in Titans Returns, but I did not get the retro box ones.
Yeah.
I know they have slightly different paint decos.
I mean, honestly, it was kind of hard to find them. They weren't in Walmarts for that long, so maybe that's part of the thing. I don't know, Phil. Like, were you able to find a lot of those originally?
I don't think I ever saw them in Walmart. I don't hit up Walmart that frequently with my toy hunting. And that time when they were out was a rough time for me to go hunting, just because COVID was still a little more hot and heavy.
Yeah.
My now 3.5-year-old was 1.5. So yeah, like being able to run out and hit up like 3 or 4 targets in a Walmart just what wasn't in the cards kind of thing. So I had never seen them on shelves. We don't even have that many ollies around us, and they're not that convenient for me. So Peter actually grabbed me a brainstorm that I got to communicate with him of how I'm going to get that from him, because Brainstorm is one of my all-time favorite, if not my all-time favorite Transformer. So to have an in-box version of that is something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and as Alderon mentioned too on those Headmasters that they have the Takara heads.
Yep, exactly. So you got Brainstorm without the mouth plate.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, I grabbed a Chrome Dome. I don't know if I'm going to open it or keep it or whatever yet, but I did grab one just for the nostalgia thing, because I had Chrome Dome as a kid, and it's one of the few Transformers I actually remember seeing in the box before it became open. So it's got the nostalgia.
But what's interesting is they don't have the same paint jobs as Takara. So even though they have the same heads, the Takara legendary Headmasters are different paint schemes.
See, this is why you have to collect all 3 of them. So
all the variants. Woo.
For Brainstorm, I'm like, crap, I'm gonna have to get the Japanese one now. So I got the Titans Return one, the Walgreens exclusive. I've got. I don't have a complete character collection of Brainstorm, but I got quite a few. So that one more paint job ain't gonna kill me to grab. And it's this really nice powder blue on the Takara version that I like a lot.
Yeah. No. That was back in the day when Takara was doing premium paint jobs, which I guess they kind of are now again.
We're back.
Especially with the Beast Wars stuff. I know, Anna, you were mentioning that you and Christian were kind of talking about the Beast Wars and how nice the Takara premium finish was.
Some of those beasties are really impressive. Like freaking Cheetor, right? Like, I complained endlessly about that Cheetor toy when it came out because it looked like a confused dead cat and a crappy robot. But with that Takara paint job that looks so much like the freaking MP, it really just fixed it. It's like suddenly that crappy figure, they painted a turd. They painted a turd and made it shiny. And now I kind of want it.
So yeah. I think you bring up an interesting point, and that kind of dovetails into something else I want to talk about with the topic. When it came to the Takara and Hasbro releases back in the day, they weren't quite exactly at the same time, but the delay was only usually less than a year between when you'd have the US version, the Takara one. And oftentimes you'd see the Takara paint job before the US one was hitting the shelf. So you could make your decision before you bought one, and then, oh crap, now I either got to return this or sell it to then get the Takara one that I'd rather have. Now that we're getting these premium finish or whatever they're calling the Beast Wars ones, now we've got a multi-year delay. So the question is, do you wait? Do you gamble on waiting for the Takara one to come out and have the better paint job or not? And also, too, how that ties into this discussion is I've seen people post on social media that I'm just going to wait for Ollie's or Ross, whoever, to get these new figures in. And I've been a big fan of waiting for sales, waiting for deals, but I'm more so talking about the Hasbro 35% off sale on Pulse, which you can very, very likely come across multiple times a year. I don't think this is something that we're likely to see repeated over and over again at Ross, because it's just they'll between Hasbro or Walmart or somebody, they'll figure out the right numbers of distributions to get this thing right, so they sell to the normal distributors. Because no one wants to have these sold at the discount prices that they're being sold at. They're losing money.
So 2 or 3 lifetimes ago, this little guy named Fortress Maximus started showing up at Ross's. That was like the first time I heard about like hunting your Ross's, trying to find, this awesome clearance figure. So I think it happens from time to time, and I think it will continue happening, but I don't think you can play it like people like to think they can. Like so many people are saying, don't buy the Nemesis because now look, the Ark is showing up at Ollie's. So don't buy the Nemesis because it's going to be $60 someday at an Ollie's. And if you do that, you are risking perhaps you won't get a Nemesis. Maybe you will, but if you pay, full price, or you look for the holiday sales and try to get a slightly discounted one, you will have one. And I think like something that's been kind of cognitive dissonance for me this time around is this is the first time, because I haven't really tried to do the whole bargain hunting thing in years. This is the first time doing the bargain hunting. I've had a little bit of like pushback in my brain saying like, I really don't have to be doing this, right? Like I still get to have a good amount of collectibles every year if I pay full price. Back in college and back in grad school, I couldn't do that. If I wanted to have more than a few toys a year, I had to dig through the bargains. And it's just been, it's an odd feeling because it's like, maybe I should just leave these for other people who, actually need the discounts in order to get them instead of me, which I don't because of the scalpers, because I prefer I got it instead of a scalper.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, like I haven't been looking for a lot of that stuff just because if I really wanted it, I would have already gotten it. And so like some of the ones like, I don't know, like I know like Metroplex, I never got that one because it's like, do I really need this? I don't really have any nostalgia for it. And there's like several other ones too. So like there's a few where I have partaken in the pull sales to get some guys I was on the fence about. But yeah, for the most part, like I'm not going to sit there and like, if it's something I really want, I'm going to get it. If it's something I don't really want, I'm not sure that I need it, in my collection. So I don't know. We'll see. Like, probably depends on how good the sale is there are a few, I feel like the newer figures, the newer waves, I've probably only gotten like half the wave instead of the full wave. So, I don't know. We'll see whether or not I'm tempted enough to actually get those.
Yeah, I want to say that like something I wanted to talk about is just trying to figure out why this is happening, like why we're getting all this. And after talking to a few people about it, it's become very apparent to me that most of what we're seeing hit Ross and Ollie's, not everything, but most of it are the Walmart exclusives. And I feel like if you think about the number of Walmart exclusive Transformers and G.I. Joes that have come out in the last few years, I think Walmart may have just overdone it with their exclusives. Like they've had upwards of 2 Transformers exclusive lines trying to share the shelves with movie figures, mainline figures, Cyberverse / Earthspark figures, and any other random ass Transformers they have at the time. Like they may have just kind of gone overboard on Transformers.
So I think that is part of it. I also think this is still hangover from COVID. And, I wish, you guys probably know this. I'm sure Peter would if he was still on. Apparently he had better things to do. The Headmaster reissues, those were 2 years ago, right? Was that 2021, if I remember correctly?
That sounds right. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. So the reason I bring that up is that if you think back to 2021, that's when we still had all those freighter ships out, like couldn't get into harbors. Yeah. Stuff was taking forever to get through the supply chain. And so this may have just simply been a situation where it's like, Yeah, and to your point, maybe they did order too much, or it's just like, listen, we ordered things with the expectation that they'd come at a certain time, and then they didn't, and then we got a glut, and it just became too much at one time versus the original plan was probably spaced out more than what we saw.
Yeah. Like
No,
they
that
just
makes
don't
perfect
have,
sense.
when they do the planogram or whatever, they have the spot on the shelf at a certain time. If it doesn't come on that time, it's
Yeah.
not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all that kind of plays together because there's only so much stuff they can fit on the shelf. They can't just put everything out there at one time because stores are only so big. Shelves are only so big.
And honestly, if you go to a toy store, a toy aisle, toy store, yeah, good luck unless you're in Canada. But if you go to the toy aisle of any of these stores, it's like the Transformer section is maybe the biggest they have. Like,
it is.
Star Wars and Marvel are pittances in terms of how much space they have. DC's got a decent space with McFarlane and the other like Spin Master DC stuff, but yeah, Transformers is got a primo amount of real estate these days.
Yeah, well, I feel like the action figures in general they've shrunk a little bit of that space and have allocated it to other toy lines or Legos or whatever else it may be.
That, and they've kind of dispersed some of it where you've got like the section by the electronics with all the higher end NECA stuff and other kind of collectibles that they put back there. So it's not all just like in one area like it used to be concentrated.
Yeah, that's true too. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I will say in general, getting back to like some of those Takara reissues, like I never really minded, getting the Takara Titans Returns figures, right? Because like they were so much nicer. The packaging was really nice, and then they came with an extra little Titan Master and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just, it was actually a pretty decent deal. If I remember correctly, I think those were $40 back in the day. I mean, this is of course years ago at this point, but I don't know. Like they all seemed really nice, and I kind of feel like with some of those Beast Wars, the new ones, I will say that, like the Masterpiece Beast Wars figures are so much nicer with their paint jobs, and so it almost would tempt me to get if the paint jobs of these new figures are that close. Like I feel like that's been kind of my one complaint about. I've enjoyed a lot of the Beast Wars toys, but the paint jobs, like they were fine, but if you're going to put a really premium paint job on it, like, I don't know, I might be actually tempted on those.
Yeah, I think it's really been illustrative of how much the paint job actually means to me. Like I took down, I think he's still right here, if I can reach my hand around to where he's hiding. I took tarantulas off the shelf lately because I wanted to hang out with my new Nightshade toy. And when I was playing with this figure, like I remember when I first got it, I was just, absolutely in love with this thing. I gushed all over it. I was like, this is the best Beast Wars figure they've released. Yay. And I think after playing with many more toys afterwards, I realized this is just about as good as the other Beast Wars figures, except that it's painted better. It just has the colors more correct and nice and interesting on it than a lot of the other ones did. Which, I'm not saying it's not a great figure, because it's totally a great figure. It's a spider. I really like spiders. But, yeah, I think those repaints are going to make these figures so much cooler. We're all going to be jealous of Christian if we don't die then. He's going to start getting them, and we're going to be like, oh, wow, your collection looks cooler than mine.
I feel like, too, the Beast Wars figures just really benefit from the premium paint job. Like, not to say the G1 figures aren't, but, like, a lot of those are, pretty relatively solid colors and whatnot. Whereas the Beast Wars, like, just can benefit from additional layers of paint and things like that.
Well, and some of the premium finish ones, when they were doing the Netflix Transformers toys is they were just slapping on additional space mud. So they sometimes look better and sometimes they look worse.
Yeah, those premium finished figures were kind of a dud.
Yeah.
So
but
another
the precursor to this.
They are. So another source of cells, if I can talk over my dog. Another source of cells is that for the first time we've noticed in the last couple weeks, Pulse has put up a clearance section.
Wait, what? That is news to me.
Yeah, I guess they have like a tab or something on the website. Is that right? I haven't actually checked it out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go and scope that out.
So I'm curious, like, does that mean that they'll have more regular clearance rather than, like a big bang where they put everything on clearance, like, at a certain point? Well, I guess we'll have to see.
It's only a handful, so I'm going to say it's probably going to be a constant thing.
Any Transformers highlights on there, Anna?
Yes, Blitzwing for 60% of retail.
Wow.
It's a good price.
The legacy slash, yeah.
From the Blitzy.
Yeah. It's a good toy.
Yeah. Otherwise, there's some Earthspark figures and some really random stuff.
That's anytime you go into a clearance aisle, that's what you're going to see is randomness.
It's true.
So, yeah, Phil, if you paid attention to the Discord, you would know this information.
I've got like 5 Transformer text chain social media things that I'm following. I can't handle another one.
Yeah, but the Discord has the best news. So if you weren't aware, the TF Talk Discord has all the breaking news on it. So we really should just spend the show reviewing the Discord for the week, and we'd probably be better off for it.
Yeah,
it's really all one of our community members just posts everything like so quickly.
Sounds like that person needs to go to life. Jeez.
Oh, jeez.
I think that person is doing a service for our community.
I am being facetious. So no, that is helpful. Yeah,
I appreciate it too, because like this is my busy part of the semester. Like the fact that I'm doing this is ridiculous because I'm going to be up all night doing other things. But thanks to him, I'm still able to stay up to date on things just by reading the Discord. I don't have to troll the Facebook groups or check the actual websites where news is posted. I just check our Discord.
Well, and I feel like, for me too, is like I've gotten busier as well with my kids that, I don't have as much time to, scroll on the Facebook groups or like you said, check out the website. So I really do rely on, people like Ron or Christian or whoever sending notes to say, oh, hey, did you guys see this? So.
Like the note this morning about like Year of the Dragon Transformer that's coming out with
yeah.
How old is that toy? 5 years old? The repaint of Steelbane, it looks like.
Looks like it should be a remold. A lot of people are making the argument that it's so remolded that it's a new figure. I think it might be in the Ectotron family of all the engineering is the same, but every single part is a new piece.
Yeah, it's funny because I recently got that toy at DairyCon for one of my sons, and the last night version is bad. So when I saw this was a remold or repaint of that, like at first the silhouette, like, oh, that looks kind of neat, and then I saw it was a remold repaint of Steelbane. I'm like, ooh, that's cool robot
silhouette.
mode, but the dragon mode was awful.
Yeah, in a weird turn of events, I ended up with, I think, all the different dragon toys from that line, and they're just not very good, right? Like all of them are things you want to be cool because it's like it's a knight that turns into a dragon. Both of those things are cool. I want that to be nice, but it's a crappy knight that wibble wobbles apart pretty easily that turns into a dragon that barely clips together and looks kind of ridiculous because it often has things like feet for a neck. I think Steelbane has feet for a neck, right? I think.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yeah. Feet neck doesn't look good, actually. Surprise, surprise. But the remolding, at least from the teeny tiny picture we have, the remolding looks like it might fix that just by having a bigger head.
Yeah.
His Steelbane had a little tiny dragon head, and this looks to be a nice big.
Yeah, it was like the Steelbane head was like a duckbill platypus with antlers.
It really was.
Yeah.
For some reason. This one is going for that Zodiac-inspired Chinese dragon look, which is cool.
They weren't perfect, but the Beast Hunters dragons were pretty darn good for what they were at the time. I kind of miss that I sold some of those and might have to track some of those down again.
Yeah. I do think it's cool that they're doing a year of the whatever again. Like I really enjoyed those back in the day. I'm trying to remember like okay, let's see. The Omega Supreme one that was the repaint into more of a G1, was that Year of the Snake? I guess
that was Snaky.
Yeah.
That was Year of the Snaky.
That was a really cool one. And I also really liked that the MP10 Optimus Prime, like that was actually the first, I think, version of MP10 that I got before they had
mine too.
Before they did the re-release again in original colors. I think that was the only way I could get it at the time. But it was kind of a cool deco. Like I actually enjoyed that one too. So those are a couple of the highlights of the year. But it's cool to see them doing that again.
Yeah, I think it is too. I'm not a fan of the figure they chose, but I haven't been a fan of every one of them.
Right.
In the past, they used MP10, they used MP Soundwave. They used some good figures in the past. But then there was also that time that they used Air Attack Optimus Primal when he was like a 15-year-old toy already.
Yeah, that Year of the Goat Soundwave was kind of weird too. Just because it was the all clear, stuff.
Yeah, because I get confused with that one and the Linkin Park Soundwave, because those kind of came out at similar time frames, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. The Year of the Goat one's actually pretty cool looking in practice.
Mm-hmm.
If I had stretchy arms, I would grab it because it's just right down there, but I
don't think I ever picked up any of the Year of Transformers, because they were either like Omega Supreme was out of my price range at the time. I already had the MP10, and it just like the one thing about them being nice figures is that they had a high price tag, and so I sometimes already owned that toy, or it wasn't exactly the colors I wanted, so I wouldn't shell out that kind of money for a toy that wasn't the version I wanted.
If I remember correctly, I swear they were on sale. I thought that I got mine from the Year of the Snake, that Omega Supreme from Big Bad. If I remember correctly, I think it was on clearance. And I think that the MP10, I think I somehow got on sale from Toys R Us like way back in the day too. So I don't think I ever actually paid full price for those. So that's probably the reason I'm remembering them more fondly than, if you had someone that had paid full price.
Yeah, that Goat Soundwave got really cheap too. That's why I have it, because Catherine bought it for the cassettes and then sent me the Soundwave.
Right.
Yeah, and it's interesting because then I wasn't really as involved in the Transformers community, so I wasn't aware of deals as much as I am these days. So, yeah, that maybe that was better for my pocketbook.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because like last year you guys were like, "Oh, Velocitron Override. This is a great figure, Phil. It's a great figure. This toy is going to sell out. You need to go find this thing before it's going to like double, triple in value, Phil." And I was like, "All right." I went and got it. I think I got it maybe for a few bucks under retail, and like it's a decent toy. I'm not hugely enamored with it, but now it's like $10. And it's like, oh.
Yeah,
So.
that's a bummer. I think we're still going to run into a lot of the woman figures going on clearance.
Yeah.
Like, they're still not selling as well as the others.
I mean, we got a whole wave. Well, no, I should say a whole wave. We got half a wave here of the new ones. But again, it just gave the female toys bad
molds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Although, to be fair, that Shadow Striker is not actually bad. It's just a stupid mismatch of things. Like, the toy is actually quite good, and I actually quite enjoy playing with it, other than the fact that it's the universe body and the kind of sort of color scheme from Cyberverse, and definitely the Cyberverse head.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's great.
I've got that added to my Amazon shopping list with the hopes that either Pulse or somebody has it on sale, and I'll pick it up then, because mainline toys in general, I'm just being very judicious of how much I pay and if I can get it on sale. Christian was saying that he got her with one of the recent Target 25% off coupons, so I don't think she's in stock anymore on Target's website, though.
He sure gets strong arm, though, if you want that dumb thing.
Speaking of that mold, though, I'm seeing Minerva pop up finally at Walgreens physically.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Minerva.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm mediocre.
I'm curious. I know Christian's been wanting. Which one is it? Medics.
Yeah.
Is that the one? Is that actually going to get a U.S. release?
It's showing up in foreign markets, so I can't imagine that it wouldn't get some sort of U.S. release.
Yeah, you would think.
It's going to, but I don't think Walgreens is a serious toy seller.
Right.
No,
and
I don't mean that as a I'm a serious toy collector, you're bad. I just don't think they're really concerned about when they put something out onto their shelves. Like, I think they're just kind of like, it'll happen when it happens. Whatever.
Well,
I think you could see it pop up before the holidays.
They haven't announced it at all. Usually the prior year exclusives, it was pretty consistent where they would show up in late October, but yeah.
Well, the joke was it would show up right before TFcon, and it's like, how many Walgreens can you hit before you get to TFcon to scalp them and sell them for a profit?
You get to play that game with Ratchet back in the day.
Yeah, and with Brainstorm. Yeah, we were talking about Brainstorm earlier. I had friends that found Brainstorm on the way from Michigan to Chicago for, what was it, the 2016 or something TFcon, or 2017 TFcon. So it was, and then same thing the following year with Rekgar showed up. I found Rekgar the morning before I was setting up my table for TFcon at Walgreens. So,
Phil, I don't know if you ever heard that story. When we went to TFcon DC a couple years ago, we happened to be on the same route that Paul was. Right? Did you hear about this?
I think so, but please go on.
And so that was when Ratchet came out, right? And so we were making Paul so mad because we were hitting up every Walgreens as we were going on the same route he was going, but it was we were 2 hours closer, and so we kept just texting him photos of hey, picked up another Ratchet, and he was so mad because he was oh, I'm gonna be excited, I'm gonna hit up all these Walgreens and have stock for TFcon. So yeah. we somehow beat the scalper, I guess, right?
Yeah, and he was involved in the Brainstorm scenario from a few years back.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the second year they did it was when they had the Clone 2-pack, which was pretty cool. but like we didn't realize that in the system. You know, they didn't care. To your point, Anna, that they're not serious about this stuff. So you go and look it up and like, oh, such and such a store has got the clone 2-pack in. It's like, no, it's just a bunch of brainstorms clogging the shelf that they didn't delineate in the system of what was what in terms of Transformers. It was all just like, yeah, we got a Transformer toy. That's just the only thing we have in the system is as a deluxe size Walgreens Transformer.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that I know jack or shit about Walgreens' business model, but I just don't think toys are a big profit area for them.
I want to say I heard that the person who was working closely with Hasbro and spearheading to get these exclusives is no longer with Walgreens. So I don't know how accurate that information is. I do know they have had quite a few rounds of layoffs because some of their corporate headquarters are here in Chicagoland, and they have had a decent amount of layoffs over the last couple of years. So it would not surprise me if that person is no longer there and it's become even less of a priority. And I do know I've read that they're no longer doing Marvel Legends exclusives with Walgreens.
Interesting.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So they were doing like every other month. Like it got to be that there was a new Walgreens Marvel Legend exclusive, and the vast majority of them for the last year or so ended up being clearanced, and or end up being sold through like Entertainment Earth or BBTS.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's weird because I know for me that like a lot of those Legends exclusives would just like sit on shelves. Like I don't remember one of the Walgreens ones actually being hard to come by.
There were a few. Yeah, Silver Surfer was a really in demand one. Yeah, there was a Punisher one that got big in demand, that got scooped up pretty quickly. And then they just started, they did all the Fantastic Four were through Walgreens. And then they started doing lesser and lesser characters. Like you had Quasar and Jigsaw and Moonstone. And it's like, yeah, you're at the lower end of the alphabet in terms of the tiers of these characters.
Right. I'm always curious about some of the deals that they do, like retailers with Hasbro, right? Because like, how is it that what type of orders do they have to do to get an exclusive Soundwave or Bumblebee or just whatever type of thing, versus getting or Cosmos, right? Versus getting like whatever, just something else that's like a D-list character.
I'm sure with Hasbro, with Target, Walmart, and Amazon, they're getting sweet deals with those guys. Those toy buyers can sort of sure the pick of what they want, because those are your three main vendors for this sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So since we are doing a bargain hunting show right before Black Friday, I think it would be incorrect for us not to play a little Black Friday guessing game. What do you guys think are going to be the good Transformers things to be looking for on Black Friday this year?
I have had a lot of success getting Titans from Amazon on Cyber Monday, the Monday after Black Friday. Back in the day, it was, sub 100. Now that the Titans price has gone up, I'm hoping, in the 120 to 130 range on Nemesis.
So you think Nemesis is already going to hit, even though it just came out, you think it's already going to hit Cyber Black Friday Monday?
That is a pattern that has repeated, not every single time, but quite a few times with the Titans. Even with it being this recently released, it has been a recurring pattern.
Delayed compared to other Titans, because for some reason I thought it was on the same schedule as the past ones.
Yeah, usually it's, and I think with this too, it's like late summer, early fall kind of thing. So yeah.
It just feels like people are still like someone shared the Best Buy was putting out a good sale on Black Xeric recently, right? They're still trying to get rid of their Black Xerics. You're still seeing good clearance prices on Metroplex. I just wonder if places are going to be ready to clearance out their Nemesises since they're still trying to get rid of Black Xerics and Metroplexes.
I feel like in general that like the trouble with a lot of those Titans figures, and part of the reason that Hasbro didn't do them for years and years, is because they do take up so much space.
They do.
So like I think that retailers, if they actually get those things in, like they're looking to get them out the door, like if they don't sell immediately. So yeah, I do think like they just take up a lot of space. So you know, I'm the same way as Phil, that I had waited on the Nemesis. Like, you know, I've kind of run out of space for Titans, but like that one kind of catches my eye. Like Metroplex, like, I don't know if I really care that much, but like the Nemesis actually is kind of cool. And like I got the Arc, so to get the Nemesis to go with it, you know, that's probably my pick too. So I'm kind of hoping that, you know, we see a decent deal on her.
It is the thing I'm looking for too, which I think it's part of the reason we're probably going to be disappointed and other things are going to go up. Because what that does when we're trying to find that specific thing is that means we watch all the sales, and that means that we catch other things we may not have wanted to buy, which is the whole point of Black Friday.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there, like I said, there might be a few of like random waves that I didn't pick up, like that. Anna, what was the figure that you were saying that you picked up, the other female character?
Stonearm?
No,
Shadow Striker?
Shadow Striker.
Yeah, Shadow Striker and Strongarm both. I haven't gotten either one of those. So, and not to say that like I a lot of times will get the female figures, like those ones just didn't really seem that interesting to me. I would like to have a good Strongarm, but like, did you get that one already, Anna?
I haven't. I haven't opened it yet. It's just Minerva with slightly different parts, right? So if you see this, you pretty much have her already, right? Yes, she has a bunch of new pieces, but the transformation's the same. The look's the same.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I mean, I would be excited to get, you know, a cool version, but I don't know if that's a cool version.
I mean, I think at this point, the RAD Deluxe is the best version they've done of her.
Yeah.
Which,
although, NoNaf still has that upgrade kit up for Stonearm from Studio Series Ratchet, and Studio Series Ratchet is in those 2-packs. So if you wanted to make, because that makes a pretty cool looking Stonearm, right? It makes a nice beefy Cybertronian Stonearm that actually, like the head sculpt on that thing that NonF was selling is fantastic. So
to me, that's the
wait, that's not NonF. That was Render Form, wasn't it? I always get those two mixed up.
Yeah. To me, though, that's the thing that makes this Hasbro Strong Arm so disappointing, is that you had that third party, you know, 3D printed head that just looks so much better than the Legacy Strong Arm head. It just really is, again, just like salt in the wound of how ugly that head and disproportionate the Legacy Strong Arm head looks.
I'm trying to think, what other figures would I be interested in? I don't know if there's a whole lot myself.
I still haven't gotten him, and so if I can get him for cheap, the Transmetal 2 Megatron. A lot of people have said good things about that toy, and I never grabbed it, so that would be one on the list.
That's a really cool. This one.
Yeah.
This is actually a really cool toy. I would say if you can get it on sale, I would definitely suggest it.
Yeah. That is one too that if Takara does a more higher end paint job on that, would be something I'd probably want to scoop up.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because I know some third parties have done it too. So yeah, getting a really premium paint job would look pretty neat.
Yeah, I've got the what is that third party one that I've got over my shoulder there? What company was that?
Oh, God, I can't remember.
Yeah, Perfect Effect.
So, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was because there was like another company that did it, that did a even bigger version of it. I was thinking it was that one. So.
Yeah, the BB. Sorry, I'm just reading the note there from Ron. The other third party company that did it did a more animation accurate one, whereas the Perfect Effect is a little more stylized. And I don't have the biggest affinity for the Beast Wars cartoon, so the Perfect Effect more stylized one I thought was perfect, and no pun intended. And I got their Optimus Primal, their Primal Prime as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, and their Leo Prime. So yeah, I'm a big fan of those three, and this more stylized Beast Wars stuff is right up my alley. Ron did mention something else that we haven't talked about, the clearance out Super 7 stuff through BBTS right now.
They're doing a huge clearance of all their Super 7 stuff, right? Like it is across so many lines, like especially the Transformers and Power Rangers stuff is deeply discounted.
What about the Silverhawks?
I think
not
it's
as
discounted, but not as deep. Yeah.
Yeah, like Monstar is the one I was eyeing, and he went from like 70 down to 50. So that's still a heavy price tag, but that's a huge toy if you're eyeballing that Monstar. There's several waves of the Ninja Turtle ones that had some QC issues or over ordered. They're down to $20 a pop. So yeah, you can definitely get a nice Super 7 collection for pretty cheap. I feel bad for guys like Rob who like were pre-ordering that stuff directly from Super 7 during their pre-order window. But yeah, that's not a ton of Thundercats, but yeah, Power Rangers, Transformers, and Ninja Turtles are definitely on clearance.
If you're a longtime watcher, listener, you'll remember that Phil and I have told you on multiple occasions the Super 7 Ultimate Transformers are not good. Right? Like that first, I didn't touch the second wave. I'll be completely honest. It's not on clearance yet. I have not touched wave 2. It might be better. But wave 1 was hot trash. And I really, even though I have the 2 Action Master guys and they kind of fill a cool gap in my collection, neither of them are good, right? I have the original Bonsaitron and he is better than the Super 7 Bonsaitron.
I've heard mixed things about the Super 7 Bludgeon, and that's the only one from Wave 2 I've got any desire to pick up.
The Grimlock kind of looks cool. It's huge. It is so huge.
Yeah. He's a fat boy. He's got
Zaldron was asking if Wave 2 is out. I think isn't Wave 2 out, but Wave 3 is not?
That's correct. And the only place I've seen Wave 2 is at conventions. Like recently at Planet Anime Con, whatever they call it here in KC. I saw the whole wave of Super 7 Ultimates Transformers Wave 2. And that Grimlock is so big.
I've just seen people like that I know post on social media that they've got them now and mention their thoughts. Yeah. The Grimlock, you can really see how much that animation design just gave him this like big fat lower belly, just the way his body just curves, and it's like it's both a slight against, and Zaldron will appreciate this, it's both a slight against the animation design of Grimlock, but also how like the older paleontology like models of the T-Rex where they had him standing more upright. It just kind of notes itself to being almost like a belly dragon, Homer Simpson-esque dinosaur.
It's quite funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I was gonna say though, you could probably figure out just by which ones are clearancing harder. That like I think that the Thundercats and Silverhawks or whatever, like there's not a lot of other like recent options for those characters if you're looking to get them. Whereas like Transformers, obviously we've got plenty of other things, and the same thing with Ninja Turtles too. That I mean, I guess you can kind of go the NECA route a little bit. I realize it's a different deco, um, but yeah, I don't know. I will be curious too, like in the future, if Super 7 just sticks to those, smaller 5-point articulation figures, rather than doing the Ultimates. If like the Ultimates just didn't work out for him or what.
I think for some lines, the Ultimates have worked very well. I mean, they did the Thunder Tank for Thundercats, and then they did the Cat Slayer, which got fully funded. So certain lines have sold well for them apparently. The Hasbro stuff, you had the red Hasbro toys competing with the Super 7 Ultimates, right, and some of the same characters. You had Optimus Prime in both of those. Starscream in both of those. So yeah, what do you think is going to happen? People are going to, your average fan is going to pick up the $20 toy versus the $50 toy. And now they're doing the same thing to Super 7 with the G.I. Joe figures, because Hasbro's doing, their retro carded G.I. Joe figures are going to look more like they did in the original animation models, which is what Super 7 was doing with their G.I. Joe Ultimate lines. So again, Hasbro is, made deals with Super 7 and gone and done things to make that deal less favorable.
Although I will say that to me, the Super 7 Transformers or Super 7 G.I. Joe actually capture the animation models way better than the Walmart toys did.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture of some ones that they've shown the renders of for Duke and Scarlet, Anna, but they haven't come out yet, and much more so than what the original retro card figures they've done already in terms of capturing the animation model from the real American Hero cartoon.
Because especially and we're going to G.I. Joe territory, and we're going to come back because we don't want to be there because Christian will just burn the show if we talk too much about G.I. Joe.
But they're part of the Energon universe.
Yeah, but it's not as fun because Christian's not on.
I know. The early classified figures looked nothing like the 80s animation, right? They were very much updated. They were very much more like dark special ops looking people. So redoing the characters, like, they tried to animation up that Lady J figure from the earlier toys. And it kind of looks like a different person wearing too much makeup, because it doesn't really look like Animation Lady J. Animation Lady J looks like a different person than the kind of, secret operative character that they made for the classified line. Now, the newer toys look closer to the animation than ever. So that's kind of changed. But that first set wasn't really hitting it. But Transformers, on the other hand, has had years to get closer and closer and closer to the animation, such that the Super 7 just isn't really necessary anymore.
Well, I think too that Super 7 probably has like a hardcore core audience that they're going after, and I think the general collector, for at least for some of the Ultimates line, may not necessarily be their target demographic. Like, I think that some of the carded figures that they do probably are like the stuff that you can find at Target or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So, well, I guess, is there any other, like hunting topics we want to cover for?
We didn't mention BotBots, and so the like some of those last waves of BotBots that only were really available through Pulse and maybe some other online retailers, them showing up at Ross is I think the only time people have found them physically in a store.
Yeah, it's true.
I may actually have to hit up Ross for those. My kids really enjoyed those back in the day. they probably won't enjoy them as much now since they're older, but I mean, they're still pretty fun little fidget figures.
Yeah, and I think they did. The ones that are repainted of the earlier molds are still decent, and then they did some newer molds that some fared better than others. The Crazy Cat Lady is not a good toy.
I think they're going to be like mini cons back in the day. You know how back in the day when you went to the Transformers conventions, everybody would have a tub of mini cons and they'd put like $5 a piece on them and people would just buy the crap out of them because they were nice and cheap, but you were still able to make a little money off of them. I think BotBots are going to be like that for years, where it's just like something to have on your table at a convention. If you get tired of it, you can do that. Or you can be like Christian and make a really cool BotBots display out of the ones that you have.
Peter had BotBots on his table at TFcon in Orlando, and we were surprised at how relatively few he sold.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised.
Yeah. He had some loose ones and he had some sealed ones, and it was $5 a piece. And it was like, all right, if you don't like the one you got in the sealed one, then you can go and swap it out with one of the other loose ones that are on the table. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I figured they'd be selling pretty well. They were before.
We did too. We were both surprised at the poor sales on that.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Daniel and Zaldron and Ron, I think.
Anne, are you back to book club? Is this now book club again this weekend?
We are going back to books. So if you're paying attention, some point at this week, you will be able to obtain the actual second issue of the new Transformers. I'm going to suggest that we cover that on the show in the next couple weeks. But we are starting the last Transformers run. We are starting IDW Generation 2. And the comic book series that all my TFYLP friends rejected. But honestly, Catherine liked it. I like what I've read, so I'm looking forward to starting it. We'll be reading it for the next most of a year because we're going to read 2 issues a week for a while. So if anybody's interested joining a book club where we read those comics for the next roughly year or so, feel free to join us on Sunday nights.
And spoiler alert, one of my favorite Transformers, if not my favorite Transformer that I already mentioned multiple times tonight, does not fare well in the first issue.
It's in the first few pages, so you get it over with quickly.
Yeah.
I think that is like, I would love to talk about that again. We've already talked about IDW 2 and why it felt so epically for not actually being bad. I think that's one of the reasons. I think that just cut a little deep for people who were still so invested in the last universe.
I also kind of feel like the art was kind of hot garbage.
Yeah,
it's not very good. I didn't feel like, I don't know.
I don't feel like it's nearly as big of a departure as the new art. The new art is a little hard to adjust to, given that we had years of over-processed, very modern comic art. Not quite Dreamwave level over-processed, but still heavily processed, and now we have that more hand-drawn look. I mean, that's going to be a harder sell for people. People who don't like hand-drawn art are not into it. People who do like hand-drawn art, which would be me and Phil for sure, are really into it.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say.
But it's coming off what you really liked. Like, if you read the G2 comics and you're really into Transformers with teeth, and then you had to go to any of those other Transformers runs where they don't have teeth, you would be offended. So I get it.
But see, I kind of feel like, to me, like the new series is such a departure from what IDW is doing, whereas I feel like IDW 3 or whatever you call it,
Generation 2,
the reboot, whatever the reboot was, like, I don't know, it felt like a knockoff version of the original IDW run, like just the not is well done. Like
I've been thinking about that with us starting the new run, with us starting covering that. I think what happened is when their team was looking for ideas to do with the reboot, they were like, oh, people get so invested in Cybertronian world building. Let's go back and fill in the previous history. But it wasn't the same world. If it had literally been the same universe with the same characters, I think it would have done okay. But because it was kind of an unnecessary reboot, but then more of the same, it ended up simultaneously offending the people it was fan servicing. I just think that didn't hit. Like, they should have gone for something new.
And another thing, Anna, thinking about your point there, is that even though the second IDW series took place in, a post Cybertronian war, post Autobot Decepticon war, in the Robots in Disguise book, or Optimus Prime book, I should say, more so, took place on Earth, you had a ton of those issues that took place on Cybertron. So, okay, you do a book that's pre-war, but all still based on Cybertron, like visually speaking, it's going to look very, very similar. And so that I think that didn't help make it distinctive either.
Right. So.
Anyway, if you want to experience that, you can join us and you can be critical.
One more thing Ron just pointed out, Bone Crusher, MPM Bone Crusher on sale at Target, down to 104, and then you can stack coupons. I've seen people get them for under $100.
Yep, you can stack the crap out of those coupons. That Target 25% off any toy they do every year is always a very good way to buy something you didn't need for less money.
If they have what you want in stock.
Yes. Well, you know what? You can find these damn things in stock because this 4-pack is everywhere right now.
Yeah.
Don't know if it'll get clearanced. Anyway, safe shopping on Black Friday, everyone. Don't go too crazy and don't buy things you don't actually want. Be careful.
We can have you watch our toy rental episode as a before you do that.
There you go.
Watch your toy rental episode. Watch how uncomfortable everyone's face gets when I call them toy renters. That could be you.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks, guys, and we will see everyone next week.